She's the Chief Executive Officer of Smart Gas Nigeria. Great to have you in the studio. Very big day, madam. Thank you.
Absolutely.
This is big for you.
Yes,
How do you feel as a Nigerian? Let me start from there.
Wow. Can I contain myself? I'll try to. Of course, big kudos, to Alhaji Dangote for this great feat. I think it's a game changer for us in Nigeria. And I was looking at the inauguration, and so really I would just like to piggyback on all the capacity of the refinery, really, and the potentials it has for people like us, and other people in the industry. So putting it in perspective, we have like 4 refineries that are functional, and their average capacity is about 450,000 barrels per day, and this is about 650 if it's in full capacity. Talking about the fact that it's the biggest African refinery, the largest, single train facility, is commendable. And then I was looking at the facility in terms of 50,000 units of housing for their staff and their members. I was looking at the power plant that can power 5 states. Where do I begin from, And so for me, it's honestly very commendable. I'm excited about it, particularly about their pipeline infrastructure that they said is the biggest. It has about 1,100 kilometers, and that can carry about 3 billion standard cubic feet of gas. Now, we're in the gas space.
I know.
So
I know you wouldn't miss that in the whole...
So yeah, we're just there.
Yes.
We're just watching how it's going to unfold, but honestly, very remarkable.
Do you think the Dangote Refinery, this particular project, is a sign that, yes, if we put our hearts to it as a country, we can get more mega projects done that everybody else around the world is doing, whether it's China, Europe, anywhere else?
Absolutely.
Is this a testimony that, yes, we got all that it takes?
Yeah, so this, for me, it means impossible is nothing, quite honestly. And I was looking at the figures, and yes, I was looking at it and I'm thinking that in terms of investors, it depends on how, Dangote wants to swing it. If, for example, he's saying that he wants to go public to list this on the stock exchange, I'm sure a lot of investors, international and local, would love to be a part of it. And if he's saying no... $1 billion
on the exchange? Oh my God.
But you'll be shocked.
That's
But exactly, and if he decides otherwise, there are a lot of trade opportunities, because I know that it's going to serve the Western and Central Africa, so it's going to open a lot of trade opportunities, for all these countries. And you're talking about trade financing, you're talking about new skill set, technology, so it's a whole lot of things, that people are positioning in terms of ancillary services that can, support the process, so either way, I think, it's going to be a win-win for us.
For the man on the street right now, it's about what does this refinery bring to the table for me?
Okay, so there's that issue of subsidy. I'm sorry, some people are thinking that because of the refinery, the subsidy issue will be addressed and all of that. The truth of the matter is that it might not really be like that, because the oil and gas sector, the oil, for example, is an international commodity. So it's going to be sold in US dollars, right?
The primary product.
So exactly, the crude oil is in, yes. So I know that NNPC will most likely sell to Dangote Refinery in US dollars. The refined products will also be sold back in US dollars, So even though it eliminates that cost of logistics in terms of exporting and bringing it back as refined, now it's been localized.
Yes.
And based on what I was reading when the group CEO of NNPC was talking, he said on the average it's going to cut down costs by about, the logistics cost by about 17 naira per liter. So you can see that even though that is marginal, when you look at it holistically, considering that they supply about 6 million liters per day to the local market, it's about 1 billion naira in terms of savings on a daily basis. So for the average Nigerian, I would say that even though if they remove subsidy, they're still going to feel the pinch in terms of increase in commuting, food and all of that. Hopefully, there'll be the displacement cost will now come in terms of maybe better infrastructure, medicals, educations, and things like that. And of course, like I said, the job opportunity that it provides. And then, considering the fact that the refinery, they're also producing things like petrochemicals. They're producing things like naphtha, polypropylene. I always mix that thing. Polypropylene. Thank you. Exactly. So looking at the cosmetic industry, the textile industry, and so all of that. So I think it has a lot of things in terms of the opportunities it presents to Nigerians, and Nigeria as an economy.
Interesting. When if you look at scale over time, by the way, I'm sure Nigerians will begin to see the benefits, not just in terms of whether there's a reduction in the price of petrol.
Yes,
and I think that's what every Nigerian wants to hear.
Exactly.
The price of petrol, price of diesel, price of kerosene. kerosene, and including LPG as well. These are themes in terms of energy sources that we need in Nigeria to bring together.
Yes.
So what is in this for you in terms of how we can use this to leverage more local and foreign investment capital? I'm sure for folks like Smart Gas Nigeria, which is your organization, you say, well, if Aliko can do $18 billion, Smart Gas can do, Okweke can do $8 billion.
Of course, why not?
Yeah, because you've got Aliko as your poster boy. You can say, well, look at Aliko, then look at me. I can do something more than that, because I'm sure in the LPG industry as well, you folks need a whole lot of investment.
Oh, yes. And of course, from what he has said, a lot of their focus is on the downstream sector, and that is where we operate. We are the downstream.
That's where the masses are.
Exactly. And of course, we are really connected to them in terms of what we do in Smart Gas. And that's why I said, even though the details of how they're going to play in that industry is not really clear now, it's important for us to just, be close to what they're doing there to see where the opportunities are. But yes, the average Nigerian is looking for easier ways of commuting, easier ways of cooking, easier ways of, powering their generators and things like that. And hopefully, we believe that with this refinery, I really feel that the refinery is going to have a life of its own. That's the truth, and over time, one is able to see where you can plug in terms of, what the businesses that are around it, what we can do in terms of how it now trickles down, to the end users.
So when we take it all down, if you look at we're highlighting the positive impact of this refinery on Nigeria's economic landscape. Again, would this refinery be doing LPG? If yes, if not, what do you expect to see?
So, well, I would expect that they're doing LPG, like I said, because, part of what I mentioned is about the pipeline that they have and the capacity it can carry, and I know that, in the drilling process, based on my my research, so the soil so when you're drilling down, you either get gas, you get water, you get oil, so during all the processes, that the NNPC is doing in terms of, the drilling, the production and all that at the upstream, I feel that because now we have a localized refinery, I believe that there might even be more opportunities in terms of the quantities that we produce in terms of crude oil. And I'm also excited about the fact that, the refinery helps in terms of savings, FX savings of about $19 billion. And then the export earnings of about another $19 billion, and based on projections, they're saying that, the Nigerian crude oil alone, can give us a market value of about $21 billion. Now, these are huge figures that we're talking about. And hopefully, with the right management, with the right leadership, we're hoping that all of this, will be well trickled down, and used appropriately for the Nigerians.
Were you enthused with some of the figures given by the central bank governor, how the central bank and the local banks supported the Dangote refinery? I'm sure the support has not come to an end yet. Still, the project is ongoing in various parts. So, do you think this is something that you can see happen to other folks who are investors in this sector, oil and gas, hydrocarbon, like Smart Gas and others? Because you need support as well. You need the local banks to support you. Do you think that's happening? Would that help you get overseas investments and all that?
If I'm going to be honest with that, I honestly don't think so, and that's because we have tried. Dangote is a global investor. Is not on the platform where so many other SMEs are, or even large-scale companies. In terms of what we're talking about, is a conglomerate on its own. You get what I mean? So we, for example, like you said, there's so many intervention funds that we have heard that they're giving the gas industry, but then when you go and access it, because they have to go via CBN through the commercial banks, they're going to ask you for an arm and a leg. And usually you're not able to meet those conditions. So it's something for us in Smart Gas, we have decided to just scale based on cash flow because these loans are not available. And the truth of the matter is that for the LPG sector, you only make, the margins are very small. It's just really about the volumes, but the truth is that the market is there. So by the time you have tried the CBN, the Bank of Industry, because those are the funds that make sense. They're single digits in terms of the loans. You can't go to the commercial banks who are charging you about 20%.
Maybe if you bring the proposal to the central bank and say you want to build another refinery. Well, the central bank governor will say, here we go.
I know, right? Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, because I think if you look at Aliko as the lion heart, I think he does have a lion heart for the various industries he's done, and bringing the petrochemical as the icing on the cake, as it were. I don't know what else he's building, by the way. I hope maybe he's going to build a space rockets next, because I don't know what he's going to do bigger than this. But again, we can still use government institutions and agencies like the central bank, the BOI that you talk about, and others to support private sector businesses. So what more would you like to see from them?
So yes, I would really like a situation whereby, of course, it's expected that we have policies that support this sector. You know, like I said, based on what we do. So the regulatory body for us, for example, is now DPR, but now NMDPRA. They're the ones regulating the sector. You know, so I'll give a typical example. They're telling you want to set up a gas plant somewhere, and you have your requirements, and then you go there, and then there's a site suitability that was issued to you to be able to use the location, and then you go and purchase that land, and then next thing, town planning comes and then tell you that, oh, you cannot use that land. So for us, we would like a lot of integration in the system so that all the related parties, when it comes to this sector, they're actually talking to themselves and they're educating people like us on the right things to do so that you're not just, you know, wasting money on things that you cannot progress. Also, in terms of governance, you know, I would expect that for a lot of investors, Nigeria is still a bit tricky for some of them because they're thinking we don't honor contracts. You know, people want to do business with people that they trust. You know, so overall, I would expect some sanitization in that sector, the judicial system and all of that. And more importantly, for these funds, back to what we're saying, you can't say because some people default when you give them loans, you throw away the baby and the bathwater. So there has to be ways whereby you can actually sit down and understand the processes of some people, especially when they have proof of concept in their businesses, you know. And, you know, because for us, that is where we stand. You know, I've seen the opportunities in the industry. There's proof of concept, you know, but there's no funding, you know. So for us, yes, we'd like them to actually try and reconfigure the whole framework to see how some of us don't have to like suffer the consequences of those who have, you know.
Where are we on gas right now, LPG, as far as the market in Nigeria is concerned?
Yeah, so it's also, like I said, it's also a huge market. You know, for us in smart gas, the focus is really on those who are yet to transition to gas because they are the bigger population. It's not like you and I, you already have the 12.5 kg cylinder or whatever it is. So the market is there, you know, even though NLNG has also decided to put in a lot more in terms of what they're localizing into the market, you know, and that has also helped.
But that's
you know,
important.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Because we need to save more foreign exchange, as the central bank governor puts it. We need to save more money.
Yes, and of course, there's also a lot of infrastructure development that needs to go into it, capital projects, you know, in terms of getting, you know, the terminals, the depot, the tankers, you know, the plants, you know. So it's just it has to be an aggregate of the upstream, midstream, and downstream working together. Like I said, we are the downstream, the marketing and distribution, and then you're talking about those who are refining it, and talking about those who are producing, you know. So I think every sector needs a whole level of attention in terms of how you want to support it. And it's not just the upstream or the midstream. The downstream, which trickles to the people, also requires a lot of support, which I don't think we're getting that much.
It's great having you here today. It's a very big day for Nigeria and for
absolutely.
Africa. And the good thing is that it's happening right here in Nigeria.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you. I appreciate
Opeke, who is the CEO at Smart Gas Nigeria. Thank you, and wish you all the best in the oil and gas industry.